Please welcome to the Imus program from the great state of South Dakota, Senator John Thune. Good morning, Senator Thune.
Good morning, Imus. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
How does it feel to have another hunk in the Senate now? Huh?
Hey, we've got a rock star. Yeah, it's exciting to have Scott Brown here.
The women at Fox tell me, and every place else, that it's a jump ball between you and Noel, Senator Brown. So
I think he's got me beat by a long ways.
Kind of surprised the way you voted on that jobs bill, weren't you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, he's got a different constituency he has to answer to. I think we're going to see him having to show an independent streak around here, but I think the people that elected him, he knows who they are, and he'll vote the way that he thinks is consistent with their wishes.
Yeah, I was talking with Laura Ingraham earlier, and she had a good point. She said, you all have to remember, he is a Republican from Massachusetts.
That's right.
So yeah. That was. Tell me a little. Go ahead.
Well, I think he'll get cut a lot of slack for that reason. I mean, think about we're talking about a Republican senator from Massachusetts for the first time in 40 or 50 years. So he's got a 13% Republican registration in Massachusetts. So he'll get a little latitude around here, but I expect he'll be a good solid vote in the United States Senate and someone who will represent his constituents well.
Explain this jobs bill to me, would you, please?
Well, I think it's a scaled-down version. It's something they thought they could pass and pass quickly. Some people have described it as a nothing burger. There isn't a whole lot in it. But they're going to put it on the floor today. It's $15 billion. It's supposedly paid for, according to the Congressional Budget Office. So my guess is it'll get a pretty big bipartisan vote. But I'm not sure at the end of the day that it accomplishes a whole lot.
What is it designed to accomplish?
Well, I think it's designed to put to deal with the Highway Trust Fund. There's some rescissions in highway funding that this would restore those. It's got some incentives for small businesses, some accelerated expensing type provisions, and then there's a payroll tax credit for hiring workers who've been laid off for 60 days or more. There are a few things in there that could be helpful, but on the main, I don't think this is anything to get too excited about.
Talking to Senator John Thune from South Dakota. It's 22 minutes to the hour here at the Imus Morning program on the radio all over the country and on the Fox Business Network. What's the mood there in Congress now?
Well, we're all really giddy and excited about the big summit this week, but in seriousness, I think there's a view around here that this health care bill is still sucking all the oxygen out of the atmosphere here. I think the focus rightly should be on jobs and on the economy, but this summit this week, we'll see whether it's all optics or actually it's going to lead to something. My guess is it's mostly optics because I think they've made up their minds what they want to do, and that's to try and push this thing through with what they call reconciliation. It's an expedited procedure in the Senate that wasn't designed to be used for this sort of thing, but I think they want to ram this thing through in defiance of the wishes of the American people, and until we get this in the rearview mirror, I don't think anything else much is probably going to get done around here.
We of the great unwashed out here treading on the terrain of uncertainty, as we all do every day, don't understand this whole health care thing and why, as you just mentioned, we aren't focused on these jobs.
I think that's where the focus should be right now. And like I said, they pay a lot of lip service to that, but there is such an obsession around here with finishing this healthcare expansion and creating this new entitlement program. And maybe what they ought to do is have you go down there and moderate that thing at the White House, that summit. Maybe we get somewhere doing that, but it just doesn't seem. It seems like if this was going to happen, it should have happened a year ago. I think right now this tends to be more of in my view, a dog and pony show. But we're going to participate. We'll see where it leads, and but I would hope that we get back on jobs and getting the economy and getting the economy growing and putting people back to work.
Disconcerting article this weekend in the New York Times talking about the millions of jobs that people have lost that will be lost for years. That these people will be out of work for years, and that the shift from people who were middle class will never get back there.
Right. Well, what concerns me is we may be handing off to the next generation a lowered standard of living, a lower quality of life than we've enjoyed because we've been borrowing and spending like crazy. We haven't lived within our means. And honestly, I think the economy is never going to start taking off again until we get rid of this policy uncertainty in Washington. I think a lot of the economic anxiety and economic uncertainty in the country revolves around the fact that people are making decisions not based upon economic factors, But on political factors, the center of gravity in all this has become Washington, D.C. I mean, small businesses are concerned about taxes and whether or not they're going to be faced with an employer mandate in the health care bill, with the cap and trade bill. There are so many bad things that are sort of swirling around Washington right now. We've got a couple of power plants in South Dakota that are, on ice right now because of the concern of what's going to happen with climate change legislation. I think this policy uncertainty is making it very hard for the economy to grow and for small businesses to start investing again.
18 to the hour, talking with Senator John Thune, South Dakota. What do you make of these Toyota hearings?
I think that it's a mess. They need to come in and they've got to be answerable for what's going on, but they've got to produce safe cars. It's a tough deal. A lot of jobs in this country associated with that industry, but they've got to get this thing fixed. Somebody
did have a good point, though, that, because the government's essentially now in the car business with our ownership in General Motors, we sort of have to be careful of hammering them too hard. There's a message it sends to foreign companies, particularly automakers.
Well, that's true, especially now when we've got a weak economy and we want investment in this economy. There's a fine line that we have to walk there. And as you pointed out, the government does own now. We're stockholders in the auto industry, and we need to see a vital and vibrant auto industry in this country.
You still plan on running for president?
No. I'm running for re-election to the Senate, South Dakota. And you should come to South Dakota. You should do your show from out there.
I've been out there. We've been to South Dakota. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I bought a saddle in when the hell did I buy it?
I can't remember.
Was it Sioux Falls, South Dakota?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, in fact, I was there, and we did a show, and then something went on. I went downtown or something, whatever it was. Ran into a saddle shop and hauled the saddle back, put it on the plane.
Threw it on the plane.
It's still out there at the ranch. It's got kids riding it now. So
outstanding. All right. Well, come back again.
Final question.
Right.
Nobody has much to say about what's going on in Afghanistan, and we're at war there. So
Right. Yeah, there's so much going on here domestically right now that sometimes it's hard to multitask and keep an eye on what's happening over there. But I was over there about a month ago, and we visited one of the southern provinces where a lot of these operations are taking place. The troops are terrific. I think we have the right leadership in place. I think we have the right strategy. It's going to take a while. It's going to be important that we do this right, and they're proceeding slowly, trying to make sure that there aren't civilian casualties and there isn't collateral damage. But we've got to, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And I know our troops are committed to it. Our military leadership's committed to it, and I hope the American people will stay behind them.
Joe, you said you've been there a month ago. Have you also been to Iraq?
Yes.
How does it look different, just to you, just you looking at it? The terrain, that kind of thing.
Well, one of the things on the surface that struck me right away is I've been there 4 times, and I was there about a month ago. On the previous trips, everything was done by U.S. military personnel. I mean, you go to every checkpoint. This time around, all those checkpoints were manned by Iraqi security forces, and it really had a feel like these folks are in charge now, and that's a good thing. I hope that continues. They're going to have elections coming up in March, and hopefully they'll continue to develop this democracy and in their governance and get the oil revenue flowing again. That country could be a success story. I hope it is.
Back to Senator Brown for a second and this hunk off we have there in the Senate. Not to be disrespectful, but I think it's the point in your favor as you got where you are, not having to pose nude in some magazine. As far as we know, there's no evidence of that.
Okay, well, we won't talk about that. I can get in enough trouble on my own, Imus.
All right, Senator Thune. Thank you, sir. Nice talking to you.
Always good being with you. Thanks.
Yeah, baby. 15 till the hour.